Hey you guys, today we're going to be reviewing a 15.6-inch tablet from a company that I'd never heard of before, and it's called Gaomon. Let's get started. Okay, so you probably did the same thing or going to do the same thing that I did whenever I heard the company's name, Gaomon. So they contacted me and said, "Hey, we see your videos on YouTube. We'd love to go ahead and send you something just to review, just to see what you think about it." And I said, "Of course. I don't discriminate with regards to tablet companies. You guys know that. I've reviewed tablets from a myriad of different companies, from your Wacom to XP Pen to Huion to Sense Labs. I think that kind of covers the base of the tablet companies. Yuki, I've done them. I've done Artisul, and a few others here and there sprinkled in between. So I have a really firm grasp on what it takes to make a really good tablet. And all of those companies that I just listed have tablets at different price points. And, I think that it's kind of a misnomer to think that you really need to spend a lot of money to get a good quality product. Now, 20 years ago, whenever Wacom had a really firm grip on the tablet market, yeah, you kind of had to spend a little bit of cash, a little bit of green to get one of the tablets that would last a long time. I taught in the college, the local college here, and quite a few students, of course, being on a budget, they would bring in tablets that they had had for maybe 6 to 8 months, and they were already falling apart. And that really kind of touched me in a way that really I just kind of inside I thought I need to really search for decent hardware that these students can rely upon, especially as they're going through their learning process. You don't need your equipment to fail, right? You don't want your equipment to fail. You don't want your peripherals to have issues or challenges. You don't want your pen to go bad. You don't want any of that to really have an issue. And that's why I review tablets on the channel. And Gaomon, I think that's how you pronounce it, Gaomon, Gaomon, or Gaomon. I think that based upon communication and what I see in their website, I am pretty excited to see what they have to offer. So let's go ahead and do what I did, which is basically go to their website. This is their general website here in the United States. I'm sure that they have other websites for different different markets around the world. They do offer refurbished products, which I thought was pretty cool. So I wanted to know who they were. And here is the About Us section. I always like to kind of give myself an opportunity to look at the company, their website, to see exactly what they say about themselves. So they've been in business since 2011, which is good. 13 years is a respectable number, and they've been dedicated to developing professional tools to embody the core concepts of confidence and freedom, which I love. Check out our growing selection. Pen display series, they're kind of pointing you back towards their sales department, which I think is fine. And then they've got kind of their mission statement down at the bottom: believe in being true to oneself and embracing uniqueness. It encourages individuals to have confidence in their abilities and express creativity freely. Everybody is unique, and we strive to create a world where everyone can freely express their creativity. Confidence and freedom lie at the core of our identity. I love all these words. These are really nice. Each Gaomon product is an original design, carefully crafted to help. I can't tell you how many times I've seen one company copy another company. So the fact that they want to be unique, have an individual presence in the marketplace, really speaks volumes, again, to the Gaomon line. So, again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Gaomon, 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 Gaomon. My apologies if I am getting it wrong, but let's go ahead and go back to the pen display section. So I first click on their pen displays. They offer quite a few pen displays, which is really cool, from your 11.6 inch, 13.3, 15.6 inch, which is the one that I'll be reviewing today, and the 22 inch. They have different models. The 1561, PD1561 is the one we'll be reviewing today, and you can go by resolution. So they have not only from HD all the way up to 4K, which is kind of the industry, where the industry is headed. It's not quite the industry standard yet for pen display tablets. I'm sure it will be in the next 3 to 5 years, but right now, some of those price points of those screens needs to come down. And honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you, which I am all the time anyway. You don't need a 4K screen. Okay? You really don't. I've been in the industry since 1998, 1999, doing digital illustration, and we worked on standard CRTs for a long time, and then we transferred over to HD, and that was great for a while, and I currently work on a 2.5K tablet, and I would like to have a 4K, but again, price point kind of dictates that for me. So, and then you can shop by level. So they give you a lot of options. And then something I've never seen before, which I'm trying to get it to where it'll, there we go. Had to pause for a minute. And then they go by scenarios. So if you don't know any of these things, you don't know what any of this means, I don't know how you couldn't for beginners or professionals, you could go by scenario. So if you want to draw, if you want to do graphic design, photo editing, film and animation, 3D games, learning, stuff like that. I thought this was really cool. I hadn't seen that in some of the other pen display companies. So let's go ahead and look at the 15.6 inch, and they offer four different options with regards to that particular size. And different price points from $299, $250, $419, and then $599. So we have, and you can see they're discounted. I think it's interesting when companies do this. They show the retail, which is what they would normally charge, and then they show what they're currently charging. This is kind of a sales tactic. I think as customers, we know what companies do. They show the price that they basically would like to get, but the reality is the product at that particular price point would probably be a little more expensive than a lot of people would want, so they discount it, and it's automatically discounted when you get it. So the 1561 is what we're going to be doing today, so let's go ahead and click on that. This retails for $250. It's got a HD 19 by 20 1080, so that's true HD, 72% NTSC, and then we go down and see some of the items that a lot of people really care about. You have the active area, 15.6 diagonally, 16.9 aspect ratio, which is called a cinema display. Then you move down to the gamut volume, which has to do with the color gamut and what percentage of a color gamut that it can cover. So this one's not too saturated. It is the pen is battery-free EMR, and it is an IPS display, so it's LCD liquid crystal and IPS, which means the blacks are really nice and dark. And then we get to the stylus. Now, the stylus is very important because some companies, you have to have a battery in it, but this particular one is a battery-free EMR. So I know that I think Wacom, Huion, XP Pen, and Sense Labs all have EMR technology, and that's pretty much what you're going to want to go with. You don't want to have a battery, fiddle around with battery or charged styluses or anything like that. 8,192 levels of pressure, and that is the industry standard right now. You have some companies that are going beyond that, which are up towards 16,000, and whenever you start getting there, you're getting into the diminishing returns. That means that you can't really feel it. It's hard to feel, except whenever you go into really big brushes, and those points are really going to make a difference in terms of pressure. Whenever you're drawing small, you won't be able to tell. And this is coming from experience. Is it fully laminated? No, it is not. So that means basically the screen is bonded to the LCD. You would probably want good bonded lamination because the further off you get from the LCD, you're going to get something called parallax. And parallax basically is whenever the contact point right there, the contact point of your cursor is offset, or it's further away from your pen. So you get this little bit of a delay, and that parallax sometimes can be really bad depending on your thickness of your barrier, basically, because you're not going to draw directly on the LCD. Your barrier. And I remember, honestly, I had pad parallax with my Wacom 21UX, and I had that for probably 12 years, and I did a lot of great artwork with it. So you adapt, but on the other hand, now that we're starting to get into the area of bonded screens, you do not want to have a product that does not have full lamination and bonded. So that's kind of a bummer. But at this price point, $250, it's, if you can get a bonded screen for $250, then thumbs up to you. As far as output, it is USB-A, HDMI, and DC. And then it's got a protective glare coating that's placed on it. It is a film. Now, a lot of people like the etched glass, which is awesome. And again, that drives the price up. But at $250, I think that's completely fine. I run a protective film not only on my iPad, but also on my current 2.5K screen that I draw every single day on, my 24-inch. So having the protective film on there is good, but it does eventually scratch. All of them scratch. And you just have to keep in your mind, depending on how hard you draw, how frequent you replace your nibs, that's something that you need to take into consideration. So let's go down. It says the Gaomon, or the Gaomon, I want to say Nomon, but it's not. The Gaomon PD1561 opened the door to a creative world. It's got quick keys, presumably programmable. It's got 178-degree viewing angle, which again, some people don't really care about that, but it is important because whenever you have people that are to the left of you or to the right of you viewing your screen, let's say it's in a professional environment, you're going to want to have that 178-degree viewing angle so people can see your screen and not have that weird digital effect that happens. So that's good. Screen resolution 1920 by 1080. Vivid 72% NTSC and about 100% RGB color gamut. It's got a 6-bit display, allows your paintings to be fully displayed and show your creativity. Again, I love whenever different companies, especially coming from the Asian market, try to translate and do English. A lot of times there's a disconnect. So no big deal. I see it all the time whenever I design toys and get my emails in. And it is interesting whenever they word them like that. Maximum fidelity, advanced anti-glare, protect your eyes, anti-fingerprint, and anti-glare protection. That is a big deal. So whenever you put your fingers on the screen, especially if it doesn't have any protection, you're going to have to deal with fingerprints, and that's kind of a bummer. This takes care of that. At $250, 10 adjustable shortcut keys, which is awesome. Authentically reproduce talents of drawing. Again, there's that interesting language disconnect that happens, you know, but I think that it's worded completely fine. I understand what they're trying to say. Thanks to that 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity, you can get different widths and saturations can produce naturally. So once you hit that over 8,000 levels, you start to get into that really nice feel and flow of the pen, and I'm anxious to get a hold and unbox and get this thing's rolling. Adjustable monitor and stand, so it comes with a stand, which is awesome. More possibilities for your individual life. You can draw, write, and it comes, looks like, with a carrying case for transport. Strong OS compatibility from Windows to Mac OS, and it looks like all of these are compatible with this particular tablet and driver set. These are all the these are all the things that are included, from the tablet itself to the pen holder, the nibs, the adapter that you would need if you were in a different electrical market, the 3-in-1 cable, the power plug, the adjustable stand, and the quick card. So, and then of course it has reviews, which I always love to read. But it's very important for me as a user to see what your company is about and how you show and market this particular product. So they do have a video, it looks like. We're not going to play that because I don't want it to trigger any copyright infringement. But overall, I think this kind of gives me a decent feel for what Gaomon is about. So let's go ahead and do the unboxing and see what's inside and confirm all the things that we just saw. Then we're going to hook it up to a PC. I do have numerous computers in my office, but the world is like 78 or 85 or 90% PC. So we're going to go and hook it up to a PC, and we're going to use Photoshop and Sketchbook Pro with this particular device. Now, it didn't lose Sketchbook Pro, but Sketchbook Pro's been around a very long time, and I like using it. Oh yeah, Sketchbook right there. Huh, I didn't see that. So we're going to use those two programs, and we're going to do a drawing and do a line test and see exactly what the Gaomon 15.6-inch display tablet is all about. Let's get started. And here we are unboxing the Gaomon 15.6 PD1561 IPS pen display tablet. 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity. I am super excited. If I can get into the package. Aha! It's a slider. That's interesting. Ooh, it's a clamshell. Oh, very fascinating. As I knock stuff down. Everybody has their own way of packaging stuff. Right to the star of the show, baby. Nice. I love it whenever they package these things in such a way that is easy to get to. Can't tell you how many times I've been frustrated opening a pack of batteries. Anybody ever opened a pack of batteries recently? Especially if you decide you're going to do something with a pair of scissors. Man, you're taking your life in your hands. Okay, so overall, just the first initial swing. So you can see Gaomon is printed on the side. And you're like, well, why isn't it printed on the bottom or on this side? Okay, so you got to think of right and left-hand people, right? This is probably for right-handed people. This is probably for left-handed people. So if you print it on the side, then you can see it either way. You can read it either way. But if I were to print it here, it'd be upside down. So that's why that is that way. Okay, this is fascinating. At a size this is, and it has a Versa mount? Huh. That is interesting. It's got a Versa mount, and it's got some buttons on the side. Fit and finish, plastics quality. I'm not feeling any flimsiness. It does feel solid. It probably weighs, I don't know, I'd surmise maybe 2 pounds, maybe 3 pounds at the most. It's got some writing there on the side. The buttons have nice actuation, good return, and the anti-glare is very apparent. Here is the peripheral access ports on the side. Those look a little... Oh, no, that's not. Hold on just a second. Yeah, that is. So this is interesting. So they've got them recessed in here, so you have to use their proprietary cables, probably. So we're going to go and place this to the side. Here is the case. This is interesting. Every company does things a little bit different. I don't see cases a lot. Now, 15.6 is a travel size. I do use a 16-inch as my primary travel display. So let's go ahead and place it in the unit into the baggie, which is nice. And a little Velcro action. Let it all the way in, and there we go. Nice and protected. Put that in your laptop or your suitcase bag, and she should be protected. It should be. There is no he or she. Here comes the tablets. Okay. And here is the stand. Wow. Most of the time, stands like this are made of plastic. This one is made of metal and plastic, but the main support structure is made of metal. It goes on like this. So it can stand like this, and this, of course, gets mounted to the Versa mount, and whenever you adjust it, you just pull up and have your... Very nice that they include a stand. That is a bonus. That is bonus. Good work, Gaomon. Now we come to the final items. Let's go ahead and get the box out of the way, because I'm going to bring the star of the show back here in just a moment. But first, we're going to look at the box. Whoosh, and just throw it in there. This is interesting because some companies are so diligent about cutting out styrofoam and placing things and maybe having things in their own situation, in their own case. You know, Gaomon's like, nope, just throw it all in the box and have a nice day. Loosey-goosey, which is fine. I mean, it gets the job done. Very utilitarian. The thing is things are bouncing around in here. You can have stuff touching each other. So they are prone to touching, which of course could be a scratching situation, but I don't see any scratches, and this was ordered with the US plug, so this will plug right into the unit, and this was already undone. This is of course the pin. The pin, okay, it feels cheap. It feels like a cheap pen. I felt a lot of pens in my days. This is one of the more cheaper ones. You can see the seam on the side. It does have a nice rubber grip, but overall, it just feels very light. I mean, it feels good in my hand, so maybe that'll be a bonus after I've used it 1,000 times. And then let's look inside here. Here's the nibs. And you can stick this in here and remove the nib if you need to. This is one of those larger nibs I've ever seen on a pen. But that doesn't make any difference, just as long as it works. Honestly, I could care less. Okay, let's place that to the side. And finally, the glove. They give you a glove. Believe it or not, back in the day, whenever I first started out digital illustration, these gloves did not exist. People were using cloth gloves, and they would cut the fingers out of them, so you'd see a lot of artists like at Disney and Universal and some of those areas, animation. And they would have these gloves without fingers. You pay like $2 for them, and you just go through maybe 2 every 6 months. And then a enterprising person decided to market these and charge $30 for them. I paid $30 for one of my first Smudge Guard. It was a company called Smudge Guard, and they probably made $1 million. It was an individual, and she saw a need. And then, of course, if she didn't patent it, then you have everybody else that makes a glove. And these are great. And this is one of the nicer quality ones. The seams look really good. I usually wear mine out pretty fast. Screen printing comes off pretty quick just because I use them so much. But overall, thanks for the glove. And a little screwdriver. And a little screws. So we're going to go ahead and bring up the tablet, place this stuff to the side, bring up the tablet, get rid of some trash, get rid of the glove, and we're going to go ahead and put the stand on the back of the tablet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is the position I want it in because I use my left hand for quick keys, and I'm right-handed, so we're going to go ahead and flip this over and put it on the bottom. And now we're going to open the stand, and we're going to get the screws. I don't see any Loctite. Some of the other companies put Loctite, which is a liquid that goes on there. It's blue, Loctite blue, and it prevents the screws from coming out. Okay. Let's see how she drives. Okay. Whoops, that's my ring that did that.
my rubber ring. Whoa, slow down there. Overall feel, it's very sterile. It doesn't have resistance. It almost feels like glass, which is fine. You can definitely feel the seam. There is a seam. I thought I felt a seam. Typically on plastic, whenever they mold things, there's a seam. It's called a tooling seam. And so whenever you have two parts come together, this seam right here on the pen, you can see it. I almost felt a tooling seam. I thought I felt a tooling seam on the nib. That would be unfortunate. Okay, so let's go ahead and hook everything up to my PC. We'll go ahead and install the drivers. Go to Gaomon.com and let's get this party started. So this particular device came with what's called a three-way plug. It looks like on this side you have a mini HDMI and a USB-C out. Then it gets plugged into your machine. Here is your HDMI, your standard HDMI, and what looks like a USB-A. So the thing is, fascinating little tidbit for you guys. My computer, my PC, has neither of these. So you're thinking, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, what do I do? Oh, the world has ended. So unfortunately, if you're in my situation, because I've got a Surface laptop and I've got to plug it in. I've got a Surface Laptop Studio. I've actually got to use what's called a dongle. And this dongle right here does have HDMI and it does have USB on the side. So here's my USB-C that gets plugged into the side of my PC. Now what would be nice if, and I haven't tested it out yet, I do have a standard USB-C cable that plugs directly into my machine. And my machine, look at the side here, and this machine's about 2 years old, so it's not anything spectacular. So you can see the I/O on the side. You have two USB-Cs, and on the other side you have the power and a headphone jack. So in terms of I/O, this particular machine, the Laptop Studio, doesn't have a lot of options, but I'm sure they did the three-way cable because a lot of people haven't upgraded their computers in 5 years. So I'm sure that they will be changing this to a single USB-C in the future, and because all the new computers, that is pretty much the requirement. They're doing away with a lot of the other things, and that's where we're going to be. So let's go ahead and get it hooked up. Okay, so I have gone to Gaomon.com. I clicked on their download section, and they give you some options here. Model. So we're going to do the PD1561. There it is. Okay. Gives you specific drivers all the way back to 2021, 2023, 2021, 2023, 606, 28, 24, 2020, 21. Windows driver, tablet install, Windows driver, tablet Mac driver, so we're going to skip those Mac drivers, Linux driver, and user manual. So tablet install, Windows driver. 122. Okay, we're going to do the latest and greatest for the Windows. We're going to click on this. What I do like is the fact that even without the driver, I was able to use this as a mouse, because I can't tell you how many times I've run into the situation where I've installed everything and now I have to have a mouse because this doesn't work until the driver's installed. But that is not what happened with this, which is really nice. Go ahead and install. Yes. And here is the driver window installed. Very familiar territory for me. Response seems pretty good so far. I get a little bit of lag, but I think that's just because I haven't started my PC for a while. And if you guys own a PC, you know if you haven't started it for a while, it goes through a whole myriad of things from syncing to the cloud to updating drivers, so on and so forth. Obviously, enable Windows Ink is on. Yes, I want that on. you can go in and looks like you can program your express keys by hovering your pen over said express keys. Workspace, yes, and I've already adjusted my computer to go ahead and coincide with the 1080p 16.9 aspect ratio, and you will probably have to do that unless you have a video card that automatically recognizes your peripheral, but since mine does not, I had to go in and adjust to 1920 by 1080, and I did 100%, which solved everything. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to pen. Here's a pressure test. It looks like a little heavy. I'm going to go ahead and adjust. Let's see if I can. It doesn't want to do. Oh, there we go. So that's probably softer, and that's probably. I like mine just there. We go. Just a little bit harder than your average Joe. Okay, that's good. Everything's good. English. New message alert. Backup. What's nice too is if you decide that you like your settings, and whenever you update the driver, I'm not sure if it automatically brings over your settings. So you're going to want to go ahead and export the settings, and it's going to ask you file name. And I typically just put Gaomon set, and then go ahead and put that on the desktop. And hold on, desktop. There we go. Save. Okay. Now, what I think is interesting though is some of the other program. Okay, all programs. So that is set for all programs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back. This is for all programs. So if I want to add a program, I have to launch it. Okay, so to add a program, and I'm still in the driver window right here. Let's go and get rid of Photoshop in the background. So right here, add a program. We're going to go ahead and scroll down to Photoshop. And now in the list, I'll go ahead, and that's Photoshop is selected. Now I can adjust the pen pressure for Photoshop only, which is really nice. Okay, and I guess it automatically saves, maybe. See, that's the universal. I like my pen a little bit softer for that, and then for Photoshop we go a little bit like that. And one of the more important things that you have to do whenever you get a device like this is to calibrate the screen, because even though they do a lot of factory magic whenever they create a device like this, you have to remember that this is going to be shipped to thousands and thousands and thousands of computers with different drivers, different sizes, different peripherals. So my recommendation is once you open the driver, go to the screen icon, go to the workspace, and click on screen calibration. And it's going to basically run you through the prompts to make sure that your pen lines up. Whoops. Recalibrate, recalibrate, recalibrate. So we're going to do it again because now everything's messed up. Yeah, I messed it up. See, this is what happens whenever you don't follow the prompts correctly. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to click 1, 2, 3, so on, and so forth. And now you can see the cursor is not lined up at all. So this, you just saw me calibrate it. Okay. So now we're going to look at it, and this is one of the things that I recommend. Do it more than once. I mean, if you get it to the place where you really want it, awesome, but it is definitely not where I want it to be. So I like to have my hand resting on the screen exactly the way that I'm going to draw. Clicking on the center each time, not missing. And I'm hoping, no, it's off. And I'm going to show you how much it's off. Okay, so look. Right there. You see that? That is how much it is off. Okay? Now whenever I'm like this, that is how much. That right there is not good. So again, because whenever I'm drawing, I want my cursor to be where the tip is, and it is not even I mean, if I come over here, it is probably 1/8 of an inch off. So we're going to have to go ahead and go back. We're going to go back. We're going to screen recalibrate. We're going to factory reset it. Okay. So again, see what happens is it basically only goes on what the pin is doing. Yeah, it's completely messed up now. Yeah, see, this is one of the things that I chalk up to being user error. So let's go ahead and get it calibrated correctly. Okay, so I've calibrated the screen probably about 6 times, and it's still off. You can see it. It's about 1/16 of an inch off. No matter where I go on the screen, it is off. Even if I turn right here, it seems to be better, but still, that is not good. So I'm going to fiddle around with it for a while to see if I can't get it better, and I'm going to reset it, maybe even reinstall the driver to see if maybe something's going on, because I can't draw with this when it's like that. Yeah, it's not good. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. Okay, so overall thoughts about what I've experienced with regards to the setup and the driver install. The driver install was easy, but setting up and calibrating the screen has been kind of a challenge. I'm hoping that it is indeed a driver issue and that this will be alleviated or resolved or eliminated altogether in later driver updates. If I had received this and I had paid for it and I couldn't get it set up properly, this would be a moment where I contact customer service. I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any other things on the computer that are causing issues, other drivers or whatever, because sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes the issues may arise from a conflict with other drivers, and this machine does have other drivers installed on it as it pertains to drawing tablets. So instead of prejudging and saying, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and deinstall the other drivers from other competitors and see if that alleviates some of the offset problem. And then I'm going to calibrate again, and we'll come back and give you an update. And now I am seeing a little bit better alignment with regards. Let's see if I can. There we go. So with regards to the cursor, see now it's much better. Now it is still offset. What's interesting is I can draw right here and it's good, but the second I turn my pen in a natural drawing position, you can see now that it's a little bit to the right. Not ideal, but I had to basically update my machine, uninstall all the drawing drivers that I had, and then reinstall the Gaomon driver, and I have not calibrated the screen. So I just want to make sure and do everything that I can do before any customer service is contacted, because they're going to make me do the same thing basically, and it seems to have alleviated, and it's a lot better now. So I will not calibrate the screen. I recommend you not calibrating the screen, because every single time I did it, it caused an issue. And just like I've said many times before, a lot of times the errors that we have with regards to these tablets has to do with user error. I could have been doing something wrong. I could have installed the driver incorrectly. I could have calibrated things incorrectly. I could have drivers that conflict with the driver from Gaomon. These things are, even the operating system, the Microsoft OS operating system might conflict in some capacity on some level on my machine. And that's the caveat. We need to understand that there's a myriad of different reasons why things might not line up. But at the end of the day, I am able to get it into a state that I will start drawing now and evaluate the tablet as per designed. I am super excited, so let's go ahead and get started with the line test. Okay, I'll do a line test and the pressure test. Which is, it is a telltale. I joke about the line test, but it's not, the line test is not the end all of the capability of the tablet. And I think it is a misnomer and a wrong direction to kind of judge a tablet based upon a line test. I basically draw really fast, and sometimes I remember on early machines like the Surface and using the Intric technology, they had terrible line tests, wiggle, but I was able to create great art with that because I draw fast and I don't really do a lot of super hyper detail work or vector work. I don't do a lot of vector work on my PCs. I use them primarily for sketch work. So let's go ahead and move on to the drawing phase. And here we are with the all-important line test. So it's very important to note that this, I've mentioned it before, this is not the end-all of the capability of the tablet, even though it is a really good indicator of the driver itself and the tablet's capabilities. It is not a quote-unquote deal breaker. So let's go ahead and we'll do a pressure test. Okay, so we'll go from really light, really dark, maximum, and tapering off, tapering off, tapering off. So you can see the pressure is really good. I don't see any sudden changes. Even right here, it goes from really maximum, and then we start tapering off all the way to completely light. And then we'll come over here, do the quick line test. What I'm looking for is shoelacing. This is indicative of what is known as a perfect stroke. I mean, I'm getting nice taper off, nice dip in, nice dip in, nice taper off. A shoelace would be possibly here, and then it would go really dark, and then it would be like this. That right there. That would be a shoelace. Okay? And it didn't do any of that. So now let's do straight line, vertical, freehand. Okay. Pretty much perfect. We're going to change our brush, even though that is a texture brush. I don't think it really gives a fair indication. Let's go ahead and do it again. Okay, maximum. This particular brush is a little bit harder to control. Trying to get a nice even dip in. So that right there is probably me. So I think this is a better representation of the tablet. Let's go ahead and do that again. Maximum. Yeah, that is wonderful. That's a wonderful stroke. So let's go ahead and do a horizontal freehand. What I'm looking for is something like a consistent valley or peak, which would be indicative of a manufactured stroke or an electronic anomaly. Now we're going to go to the ruler test. So let's go ahead and get rid of these. And we'll come back here. I'll do it on your side. Okay, nice. And horizontal. Okay. I'm not seeing any peaks and valleys. I'm not seeing any anomalies. I'm not seeing any issues per se. It's got great pressure curve. Literally right out of the box. Really good calibration. I had done the calibration whenever I first installed the driver, the screen calibration, and that ended up messing up the offset of the cursor to the tip of the pin. What I don't like is, first of all, it's calibrated from the factory right in the center. If I turn the pin you can see how the cursor does not follow. You see that right there? And how I can tilt it, like right here, we're in the center, but the second I go and I tilt the pen to a natural drawing position, the cursor does not move. It stays right where it is, and I can actually move the pen and the cursor not move, if you can see that. That is not ideal. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the camera so you can see a little bit clearer. Okay, here we go. So you're going to see it. See how the cursor's not moving? It's moving as a whole, but the tip, it's like working inside of that circle right there. And whenever I'm in a natural position, like here, if I want to do some detail work, see how now the cursor is offset from the tip? I would like to see the cursor move, or the brush move. Now it stopped working. Oh, there it is. Oh, Photoshop crashed.
Ah, Photoshop, we love you. We love you, Photoshop. Not really. We don't love Photoshop. It crashes sometimes. It seems to crash a little bit more on a PC than it does on my Mac. I work in both environments. Okay, so what did I think overall line test? I think it was pretty adequate. I've had line tests that have gone really poorly, and this one was kind of in the middle of the road. Was it spectacular? Did I have zero issues? No. I think that between the driver install went pretty good. And then whenever I calibrated the screen, that was kind of like I said, kind of a challenge. And hopefully, as time progresses and they keep developing this technology over at Gaomon, eventually they can get that cursor to line up exactly at the tip of the pen. That is really important, especially whenever you have people that are doing detail work. That offset is really irritating, and it's very challenging to do detailed stuff. Now, myself, I don't do a ton of quote-unquote detailed stuff in my drawing. I do detailed stuff whenever I sketch, whenever I sculpt in ZBrush, and whenever I do vector work, like if I design pins or something like that, or vector artwork. Does this work in that environment? I don't know. I'm going to have to do a couple more videos for you guys to kind of show you what to expect whenever you're using it in programs like that. But let's go ahead to the drawing phase and what I like to kind of cover whenever it comes to these display tablets. I use display tablets primarily to draw on, and that's exactly what we're going to do. You're going to see some real-time drawing and some time-lapse. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, drawing on the Gaomon 15.6 inch display tablet. Here's just a doodle I did really quick just to kind of get a feel of the tablet before I go in. So first of all, my initial impressions of the tablet are great. I think it feels really good. Nice response. Good pressure curve overall. The pen, whenever I first had it in my hand, felt really cheap. And I've gone through so many different display tablet reviews. I mean, this tablet so far has been pretty decent in terms of quality. I'd say the pen, if they shored up some of these seams and maybe improve the feel and the width, I think it would be a winner. But right now, it's just probably average. And that's not saying a lot. So what am I going to do? I have a character that I've been doing for a long time. It's Freddy the Yeti. So we're going to draw Freddy the Yeti in a couple poses and just have some fun today. Freddy is really, really easy to draw, just because I've been drawing him for so long now. And he's kind of become part of me. What I love doing the most is drawing. I do a lot of 3D sculpting now, just because of the way that my business model has kind of changed. But I still love doing my drawing, because that's basically my jam. If I could do something that I draw every single day, I would. And ultimately, I kind of do. I mean, I still do all the turns and stuff like that for the 3D sculptures that I do in the toys, but I just would love to draw every single day. It being the fall season, of course, we do have something called Halloween coming up. So I figured I'd just have a little fun here. Maybe draw Freddy, the Yeti, as Hyde from Jekyll and Hyde. The arm's a little bit too long here. Don't forget his horns come out like that. You can see why I like this character, because I can put him in so many different situations. You know, I can have him as an explorer, I can have him as a pirate, I can have him as he loves Christmas, Santa's helper. So you kind of get the feel of what's going on here. So I need to give him a coat. Get that big collar that comes around here. And then that kind of comes off like that. Originally I had him without sleeves, but it doesn't make sense because Hyde of Jekyll and Hyde wears a big coat. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. This, of course, is just a sketch. So far, everything's been really good. Pressure curve's really good. I'm liking how it feels. Over near that thumb. There we go. Thumb right there. 2, 3. Freddy has 3 fingers, 3 and a thumb. Let's go ahead and curve that smile up a little bit more. Kind of a sinister grin. Let's go ahead and do this. Little eye shine right there. I can actually hear him make his little, he's got his coat that comes out like that. And that shoulder. Actually, it's right there, so we need to have that kind of droop down. And comes around. Goes right over that leg. Body. This kind of ends right there. And the other leg come around. He's got some pants on today. And there's the other foot right here. Yeah. So in my other pose, you see he's kind of like, maybe in this pose, this is Dr. Jekyll. So here's Dr. Jekyll. He's got his lab coat on. Right. Lab coat. Right there. Good. Comes around. Couple creases here and there. And he's got his stethoscope right here. Maybe. Yeah. There we go. Pocket right here. This, of course, is a rough sketch. I can go back at any point in time and kind of revise and revisit. Okay. He kind of looks ductoral, and he does not. I don't like how this arm right here is kind of upsetting this silhouette. So we're going to go ahead and use the Photoshop powers and paste. And there we go. That's a little bit better. It's kind of coming out of the side of his face though. Not ideal, but I should be able to work around that. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll give him some, because with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, have that horn come out. I mean, that hat's got to be specifically designed for that. Okay. Yeah. This probably has to be lowered somewhat, so I'm going to go ahead and lower that arm slightly. Again, powers of Photoshop. Don't be afraid to cut your drawing to pieces if it makes sense in the context. It's a little bit further in. There we go. Yeah, I might have to do something with that again. Kind of have it up here. Yeah. Do this. It's messing up his face silhouette. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Right there. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this. This helps me a lot. Okay. New version of Photoshop, for those of you who don't know, is garbage. It is trash. It is just, look at this. I mean, view, and it keeps clicking this little extras on. Show. Yeah, and turn that off, and then it disappears for a few minutes, and then it reappears again. There we go. That's what I want right there. Now I have that nice face silhouette, and it looks like he's going to be mixing the two. So we're going to push that back just a little bit. Okay. Back. There we go. Much better. Yeah, don't be afraid to cut your drawing up. I do that all the time. Just as long as it serves its purpose. In the meantime, you can go back. Just get all these little bubbles coming out. Bubbles. That'll probably go in further. Yeah, just as long as it serves its purpose. And then whenever you come back, you can basically do whatever you want. There we go. Yeah, see, and then all the extras showed up again, even though I didn't do that. Yeah, the first... I've been using Photoshop since 1997. Oops. Oops, didn't want to do that. And back then, it was a really good program for drawing, but now it's just so bloated, convoluted, and I use Procreate a lot, and that's a good program. But unfortunately, Procreate's only on the iPad, and you can't use wonderful devices like the Gaomon display tablet, or any other display tablet for that matter. So let's go ahead and put in some value. Let's do this. Okay. Push that back a little bit. There we go. Got his coat. A little bit of shadow in here. Little shadows down there. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Oops. So you can see Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah. One of the things that I tell people, and I was actually talking to somebody recently in reference to drawing, and I said the basic shapes, you know, you start out with the shape language, the rounds, the triangles, you know, your triangles, your squares, your two triangles here, you have a circle here. We get into details too quickly, I think, anyway. If you just focus on the character and the story of what makes the most sense. With Dr. Jekyll, he's going to be more evil, so more chaotic. So even though Mr. Hyde is round and nice, he's very sedate. Then you have Mr. Hyde that's he's kind of hunched over. You have that, you know, that direction right here. He's got his arms that come up a little bit like that, his shoulders. But in terms of shape language, he's kind of relatively the same. I put the coat on him to make him a little bit bulkier, and the serum that he uses actually changes his physique. So you gotta remember that. He is gonna be a little bit more muscular, a little bit more unpredictable. And I might even go back in and change. Now I'm gonna keep him. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make him a little bit more bulky. So what I can do is go into filter, I'm gonna liquefy, and I can just start playing around with his overall kind of girth and his shape. All right, I can put that leg out here a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you guys on to time lapse, and you're going to watch me go back to Dr. Jekyll, and then I'm going to finalize samples of color in, and then I'll come back to Mr. Hyde. I always like doing the villains. I'm a villain guy. I like doing them villains. Yeah, come up here. That slow end needs to be a little bit more readable. Okay, so let's get you on time lapse.
And now we're going to do a simple wrap-up of Dr. Jekyll. So, yeah. Here's Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll. So, what I typically do in this situation, if you've ever been on my channel before, let's get rid of those. I don't like those, the extras. Let's go ahead and transform this down. What I'll do most of the time here is I'll place my main drawing. Let's move this over to the center. Transform this up. And so just so you know, that blinking whenever we move stuff here in Photoshop, especially whenever I'm transforming stuff, you'll see a slight blink. That has to do with the interface and the communication between Photoshop and the Windows operating system. I've had it happen on like 5 PCs, so I know it's not the PC nor the tablet. It just has to do with Photoshop, just so you know it's not the tablet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back, and we're going to finalize some of this line work. Again, you know, reviewing tablets is one of those things where I like to go through so many different levels of complexity. I was going to go over to Sketchbook Pro, but at the end of the day, Photoshop really is kind of the industry quote-unquote standard for digital painting. I know a lot of you guys use different types of software, from Krita to what I mean. There's Rebel, there's Krita, there's Clip Studio Paint, which I have all those programs on this machine, but I like to use Photoshop because it is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of programs. And I have a myriad of brushes, and I like the rendering engine, the brush engine inside of Photoshop so much that I typically will use Photoshop exclusively a lot of times, unless I'm starting on a different type of device, like a portable tablet or something like that. But yeah, I just like Photoshop because I've been using it for so long. This is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use Photoshop because I'm comfortable with it. So let's go ahead and finalize the line on Dr. Jekyll. And then, of course, you have Mr. Hyde. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Just having fun. All right, enjoy the top line. And here's where we're going to land with these two characters created on the Gaomon 15.6-inch display drawing tablet. So on the left-hand side, you have Freddy the Yeti as Dr. Jekyll, and on the right-hand side, you have Freddy the Yeti as Mr. Hyde. What did I think overall of the experience with this particular product? So overall, I think the experience with the PD1561 by Gaomon was fine. I thought it was a really great drawing experience as it applied to my particular workflow. Now, there is always going to be hiccups and hangups, and the biggest hiccup that I see this particular device has to do with that cursor lining up with the end of the pen. There are a few times when it got kind of weird and quirky, and I tried to show that in the drawing experience, and especially after I tried to calibrate it. It's just interesting because the pen has really good pressure. It's got really good flow. There's not any hiccups or hang-ups or anything like that. It's just that cursor is sometimes offset to the tip of that pen, and whenever you rotate the pen, the cursor is not moving, and that to me is driver issue. I'm sure that Gaomon's working on that, and then in later updates that they'll address that. But overall, for $250 currently on their website, it's really hard to beat this particular tablet at that price point. It's got full HD, it's an IPS screen, it's got 100% RGB gamut color saturation, it's got quick keys. I mean, there's so many different pluses as it pertains to this device at that price point that, like I said, and it's, even though it's not laminated, it does have that protective film that helps anti-glare. Now, the thing that I always like to say, especially whenever it comes to technology and stuff like that, is this particular product going to last? I'm on a 3 to 5 year plan, so whenever I purchase something, I need it to last at least 3 years. 5 years is great. I had one of my old tablets. I think I had that thing for 12, 13 years. And whenever I gave it away, it still worked and it didn't have any dead pixels. Do I think this device will last 3 years? Yeah, based upon what I see. Now, the only thing that I see happening is possibly the pen, because even after drawing for about 2 hours, I had to change out the nib because it started squeaking. Yeah, Gaomon, put a little bit more R&D and money into the pen, and I think this particular device will definitely be a really high-end competitor for some of the really more expensive tablets. I mean, Wacom's tablets at this particular size, I think their 16-inch tablets over $1,000, might be $900. I don't know. I don't really search anymore because some of the tablet companies have gotten so ridiculous on their prices, and I understand the world's not the same place it was even 2 years ago. But whenever Gaomon is putting out a great product like this, it does exactly what it said it's going to do. So hopefully you get a broad spectrum, because I like to cover a lot in my video. I can just do the line test. Okay, I can just do a simple unboxing. Okay, that's fine. But I want to make sure and cover a lot of the areas that you're going to experience. I had issues, and you saw it. I had issues installing the driver. I had issues calibrating the pen. I had issues with drivers conflicting on my PC. And I could have edited all that out, and you would have never known anything would have happened. But the reality of the matter is whenever you come to me into my channel, you get to see exactly what I experience, and that transparency hopefully will translate into an honest review and a product that you can either pass on or believe in. I think that Gaomon is a product that you definitely need to consider whenever you go and you purchase a tablet, a display tablet in your next rotation for hardware and technology upgrades. So thanks to Gaomon for providing the tablet. I really appreciate it. They were very explicit in saying they wanted me to have an honest review, and they didn't want me to pull any punches. So obviously I didn't. Hopefully you got exactly what I'm trying to say, and you'll come back for more reviews. I have more reviews coming up really soon of other devices that are in my studio, and I'm super excited. So thank you guys. Like and subscribe if you like what you see, and go out and experience life a little bit. Go out and draw something. Go out and maybe go to the zoo or to an aquarium. I always like going to those places because I get lots of pictures. Anyway, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.